This is a real good question. Has the pandemic ended discounted Uber and Lyft rides for good? Now, Uber and Lyft have to make margins wherever possible. At first, they were subsidizing so many trips and fighting each other on discounting, cheapening the fare, and we really didn't end up making much. But during the pandemic, they can't offer these discounts. So we'll find out if they are aggressively stopping these campaigns, right? And if we are actually making more margins because they're stopping these continuous subsidized discounts. In the beginning, aided by large amounts of venture capital for their startups, Uber and Lyft would try to outspend one another on promotions to capture new customers. We know all about that. But as the ride-hailing services grew, they began pulling back on discounts. Now COVID-19 could mean the days of discounted Uber and Lyft rides are over for good. With ride-hailing down sharply in the pandemic, promotions have virtually disappeared across the industry. Since mid-March, Lyft's chief financial officer, Brian Roberts, said on a May 6 call with investors. So we've said consistently that our strategy is to focus on profitable growth, not growth at all costs, said Roberts. And so ultimately we want to win on product innovation, customer experience, and brand preference, not coupons. So they don't want to engage in this coupon war. It just costs them too much money. On Uber's call with investors the same week, CEO Dara Kay said that going into COVID-19, promotional activity was pretty stable and hadn't changed much since the pandemic began. Now, pretty stable. What Uber is cunningly doing is that you have, for example, a code to recruit other drivers or to recruit riders. What Uber is doing is they're still using your codes, my codes, our faces, our names, but they are not paying out the rewards for sending them a driver, for sending them a rider. So they save all that money, right? So they still here and there pass on discount to trips, but they save so much marketing dollars, so many marketing dollars by not having to pay us out. That's the new rule that they implemented in 2020. It's a phase in the evolution of ride-hailing that we expected to see at some point, where ride-hailing companies would rely less on aggressive discounting and prices would go up, says Aaron Sandurayan, a professor at New York University Stern School of Business who focuses on the sharing economy. We would have reached a point where prices were in line with what people are willing to pay for a higher quality product. We're just reaching that point faster. But Igal Arunian, an analyst at Wedbush, says the notion of discounts disappearing for the long term is unlikely. And I would agree with that. And that's not a bad scenario for either Uber or Lyft, as it could be an indication that business is back in a competitive way. Where will ride hailing shake out? Just a month ago, Uber was encouraging people to stay at home. Now, the direction has changed. We want to prepare for the new normal, said Sachin Kansal, Uber's senior director of product management, on a recent conference call with reporters. Already the company is ramping up for what the norms of ride-hailing will look like post-pandemic, guided by direction from both the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the World Health Organization. Uber said it would require that drivers and riders wear masks starting this week. There will be accountability for this. Drivers will need to verify that their masks are on by taking a selfie on the app. Both drivers and customers will be encouraged to report if someone takes off their mask during the rides. The measures suggest that demand for rides is filtering back into the market after staggering declines in the early weeks of the pandemic. Lyft CEO Logan Green said that in April, rides plummeted 75% year over year. Uber's rides bookings were down 80%. How soon and how strongly will the industry bounce back? There's a panoply of factors to consider. Long-term work from home trends suggest commuting may be down overall, and any continued pullback in business travel may mean fewer rides needed to and from the world's airports. On the other hand, in a post-pandemic world, preferences may shift away from mass transit in favor of ride hailing. More specifically, people may prefer riding alone over sharing a ride, while bicycles and scooters, both of which Uber and Lyft have expanded into, also may see more uptake. So I predict that the scooter and the bike business will bounce back once the markets start opening up. I also think they're totally on the money when they say that drivers will be getting back into their own cars. You're getting out of the buses, the mass transit, and you're actually getting back and steer on behind your own steering wheel. Wedbush's Arunian says that the price of rides could go higher, but only up to a point. If it's getting too expensive and the economy is not back in full strength, people might take the risk and wear the mask and gloves and take the $3 subway ride rather than the $10 Uber ride. So we shall see how that plays out. But during the pandemic, the discounts have literally vanished. Your thoughts on this? Leave your comments. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and have a fantastic day and stay safe.